Hey, everybody on YouTube Live and Zoom. We'll get started here in about 90 seconds, maybe even 60 seconds. So look forward to having a great conversation with Coach Appert. Everybody on YouTube Live and Zoom. We'll get started here in about 90 seconds, maybe even 60 seconds. So look forward to having a great Coach Appert, you ready?
Yep.
Okay. I just want to welcome everybody to the USA Hockey webinar series presented by Pure Hockey and BioSteel. We got a great guest today. Our U.S. National Team Development Coach, Seth Appert, is joining us. Thanks for joining us, Seth.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate being on here and looking forward to engaging with our fans.
And we're going to get to your practice philosophy here in a couple minutes, but I just want to kind of start from the very beginning. You grew up in Minnesota, was a goalie, athlete, like, the athletes of the team. And then you ended up playing at Ferris State with actually Coach Blashill from the Red Wings. How was your time at Ferris State and with Coach Daniels up there?
I loved my time at Ferris State. I'm a proud Bulldog. Bob Daniels has done a tremendous job building a family atmosphere at that program. They've been to Final Fours. So it was a real privilege to play there. I think the best thing he did was survive the Appert-Blashill goaltending era. Once he survived that era, the program took off a little bit. But certainly Blash and I are great friends to this day. We're in each other's weddings. We still go on vacation together with our families. So it's been a special relationship that he and I have been able to have that all started back at Ferris State.
Yeah, that's really cool. I remember the Dog Pound was always a tough place to play there. So great little barn. So how did you get in coaching after Ferris State? Like, what was the whole plan after that, or was there a plan?
No, I think like a lot of young guys, Bob Daniels guided me. My coach cared about me as a human being. I think that's the number one thing I could take away from Coach Daniels, how much he cares about you as a human. And I wasn't a great player. I was a Division I athlete, and that was it. And he came to me at the end of my fourth year and asked what I was going to do next year. And I had no real idea at 21 years old. And he asked if I'd stay on next year and be a student assistant coach. I learned so much that year. Number one, I fell in love with the position and the profession of coaching. I learned so much from Bob and from Drew and Jamie Russell. I don't know how much I helped them, but I know I fell in love with coaching that year.
Yeah, it sounds like a very similar to Coach Blashill's story about staying on, and he was recruiting you guys to be coaches. That's pretty sweet, pretty awesome. And then you ended up going to Denver University and was there for 9 years and won 2 national championships with George Gwizdecki and Steve Miller and company. How was your time there at Denver?
It was real formative years in my coaching development. George Gwizdecki is one of the best coaches college hockey's ever seen. He was one everywhere he is. He's a professional. Steve Miller, you could easily argue he's the best assistant coach in college hockey over the last 25, 30 years. So Rico Blasi was there with us for 2 years when I was the grad assistant. So you just this wealth of knowledge around you. Guaz taught me how to run a program and how to be a leader and lead young men. Killer taught me how to have passion and love for the profession. Killer taught me how to recruit. So I owe so much to those guys. Then we had just really good group of young men that we got to coach. Fortunate to coach some great players and great kids that helped us win a couple national championships.
So winning that national championships, I just got a question in from one of my colleagues about playing small area games to help win. Is there a story behind that national championship or those national championships?
Yeah, in 2004, small area games weren't very big in 2004, and we liked our team, but we were underachieving in January. We had a lot of seniors, and the reality was I think they were a little tired of the static way we were practicing. They're probably a little tired of Guaz being hard on them every single day and structure and structure and structure. And, we had a good relationship with our senior class. Ryan Caldwell was an unbelievable captain for us. And Killer and I talked to him, and, we just kind of talked to Guaz about, the guys have this here. They love you and they believe in you, but this is all too much and they want to play. And we needed to grow our competitiveness and our passion as a group. We were stale. So we started going a ton of games in practice. Every Monday was a game day. We do games on pregame skates. And the real thing, it really helped energize our group. I think it helped us play a faster, more competitive style. It helped us have more fun. And real credit to Guaz, because that at that time, that was not Guaz at all. And I think great coaches will adjust to their team, and he made that adjustment, and it helped us win a national championship.
Yeah, that's really cool. What did your goalies? You had some really great goalies there as well. What were your goalies thinking about that with Peter Menino, Adam Burkle, Dublowitz, some really great ones?
Yeah, we are fortunate. I think part of goaltending, having great goaltending is either drafting or recruiting the right ones. I don't know if I'm a better goalie coach than other goalie coaches are. We certainly recruited the right ones, and that wasn't just on me. Killer's a fantastic recruiter of goaltenders. So we had Dublowitz, then we had Burkle, then we had Glenn Fisher, then we had Menino, then we had Mark Chevrolet. That was the run of goalies in my years at Denver. It was pretty special. Helped us be smart coaches, because I know that when we're at 92% save percentage, I'm a smart coach, and when I'm at 89%, I'm a dumb coach. So those guys made us look pretty smart in those years.
Yeah, and why don't you talk a little bit about Killer, because Killer is a legend wherever he goes, and he's a winner, right? Like, he's won at Denver, he won at Providence, he's done a very good job at Ohio State here. Just talk about him and his passion and what he brings to the table every day.
Yeah, every day in 9 years working with him was fun. Sometimes an adventure. He's passionate. He's honest. No matter if it's an argument or not. There's a lot of heated arguments. There's a lot of talking about random things and then we circle back. He is such a fantastic human being. He cares so much about his players. He cares so much about the people he works with. And he's the epitome. All he cares about is being part of a team and winning. He doesn't care what his title is. He went to Air Force as hockey ops, right? He had won 3 national championships as an assistant coach or an associate head coach, and went to Air Force as the director of hockey operations. He doesn't care about titles. He has zero ego. His ego is all about the team, and it's all about winning, and it's all about relationships. And he's a really special friend. And I learned so much from him, and there's a reason he wins everywhere he goes.
And then you had the opportunity to coach RPI for 11 years up in Rensselaer, New York. So I know that area pretty well, and it's a great little barn too. That's a fun place to play. Talk about your time at RPI.
Yeah, it was a great experience. I mean, I was young, and certainly growing through growing pains as a young head coach. I got the job when I was 31. I think I did some really good things there. I think I made some mistakes there. But early on, we certainly had some momentum. We had some real good years, like years 3 or 4 to years 8 or 9. We were in the top 25 in the country most of those years, went to a national tournament, produced, multiple Hobey Baker finalists, some NHL players, some great players like Chase Palachek, really special college hockey player, 2-time Hobey Baker finalist, and had great people with me, and Jim Montgomery and Sean Kurlak and Nolan Graham, Brian Vines. I got to coach at Denver. Sean Kurlak I got to coach. So then I got to have those guys with me later. And I'm proud of what we built there. Like all of it in coaching, it usually doesn't end how you want it to end. But I loved my time. I loved the way the people of Troy, New York treated me.
And then after RPI, you took a job with the U.S. National Team Development Program. And you've had experience in different international experience with USA Hockey, whether it's the Halinka tournament as the head coach or assistant coach, and other your assistant coach for the men's world championships for that too. How's that experience is working with USA Hockey and working, with that USA logo on your sweater?
Well, I've been really fortunate in our profession to have some great jobs and to get to coach some great teams at some great places. Nothing has ever come close to representing our country. And I felt that way the first time I got to do it. I remember being an assistant coach for Roger Grillo. He was the head coach of the Lenka that year, who's now one of our ADM managers. And we're playing Russia, and they're playing the anthems, and you're on the bench and you're looking at it's US Russia. And for a guy who's grew up on the Miracle moment, that was such a big part of my young life. It was just really special moments. I cherished every moment I had coaching our national teams. And when John Robleski, so when I got fired at RPI, one of the worst professional days of my life, and you're trying to figure out what's going to happen next. And Robo called me the next day, and he asked me to be part of his staff for the under 18 World Championships and to join their staff. And that meant so much to me to get to be part of that again and to reinvigorate myself and to get excited about the challenge and the passion of coaching again. So for me, putting the USA shirt on every day, getting an opportunity to help mentor on the ice and off the ice, our next wave of American superstars, is the greatest professional honor of my life by far.
Yeah, and I came up to Plymouth a couple of times this year, and I saw a couple of your practices, and you're running just high intensity practices. And I think this would be a perfect time to kind of bring up your presentation and talk a little bit about your practice philosophy and how you go about your day every day with, some of the best youth players in the country.
Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Well, again, excited to be on here. Appreciate the coaches that are on here to share today, because it's all of you, the youth coaches in the United States, that end up really being the cog that drives the engine of American development. So thanks for being on and caring about trying to get better as coaches of our youth players. So this is just our philosophy, and this philosophy is made through what we've experienced over 20 plus years at the NCDP. It's through my experiences everywhere I've been. It's also using the ADM to learn. So the ADM has done such a fabulous job in our country, and this is science. This is sports science. This isn't just made up, and this is what our countries should be doing everywhere. It's what Sweden and Finland are kind of doing. It's what Belgium soccer, who's number one in the world in soccer, is doing. So this is what we really believe, based on science, is the right way to train young men. So we want to create a high energy, high passion, high compete, but also a high fun practice. Players, young men and women, play sports for fun. That's what they want to come to the rink. They want to come to the rink and have fun. They want to compete. They want to get better. They want to learn, but it needs to be fun. And that's a massive component of developing a good practice. Number two, we want to put players in positions to compete constantly throughout our practices. So as many ways as you can, whether that's physical competition, whether that's competition in the scoreboard, keeping score of a drill, a game, whatever it is, we want to foster competitiveness, because as the higher levels of hockey, competitiveness is the best skill that you can have. And we want to challenge the skill level of the individuals in the team. At the NCDP, we firmly believe that adversity and failure fuels growth, right? So if we're setting up a practice plan where there's not failure, where they're doing everything right, they're completing every pass, they're never falling down, that means they're staying within their comfort zone. Yeah, you got a question, Cruzo?
Yeah, so this kind of goes back. I know I brought up Dr. Dean Creelars a couple of times, and he was talking about physical literacy, and you're talking about failure for these athletes at 16, 17 who are elite or who are very, very good. Changes for those 8 and 9-year-olds. I just want to kind of remind those coaches that, making sure that this confidence and this failure is appropriate to the age and the level that you are coaching.
100%. But what we mean by failure is that the drill is challenging, that the game is challenging. It's challenging is fun. So failure is growth, my meaning. And what I mean by that is that if you do every drill or every game and they can complete every pass, they're not being challenged. And if they're not being challenged, they're not growing. So that's where we talk about failure as growth, not necessarily failure in terms of a loss, not necessarily failure in terms of ice time. We're talking about creating an environment where they get challenged in their skill level, and that allows them to grow. We want to put players in position to make decisions and problem solve. We're not going to set up practices where we're telling the players what to do all the time, right? That's the worst thing we can do as coaches. We want to put players in position where they understand the intent of what we want them to do within a team structure, but they're going to have to make decisions and problem solve on their own. That is going to allow the transferability of skills to take those skills that they're learning and be able to put those things into game situations. We want to allow for creativity and mistakes within team identity. Okay, so it's important for players to understand team concepts, to understand what it means to be part of your team. Everybody's got a different identity. For example, at a higher level, the O2 team I just got done coaching, we were a hard, physical, heavy team. That's how we needed to win. We weren't blessed with massive offensive talent, but we had a heck of a team. We won a ton of games. We won more like the St. Louis Blues. The 01 team won more like the Toronto Maple Leafs. Skill, offense, firepower. So we want our players to allow their creativity and their mistakes to happen in practice within the identity of how we want to play. That's an important aspect, but you have to allow for those mistakes and that creativity. Otherwise, they're never going to try to make any plays. We want to have the practice plan drive the identity of the team. So then we want to take that identity and drive it with our practice plan. Number 7 is a big point, obviously, for me and you, Cruiser, because sometimes goalies are forgotten about. But goalies are hockey players. Treat them as such, right? So what I mean by that is that, first of all, as a coach, talk to your goaltenders. There's going to be practices that in youth hockey where the goalies aren't a massive part of the equation in terms of you thinking about them. Maybe a practice is designed more for the players. Tell the goalie that. Allow them to understand that the part of the practice today for you is to be a great teammate for your teammates. But make sure there's a give and take there, and you're thinking about what the goalies need at different times of the practices throughout the year as well. I think the more you communicate with your goalie, the more your goalie feels that you understand him and you care about him, the more growth you're going to see out of your goaltenders. They're hockey players. Treat them as such. Dave, you have a question?
Yeah, and I think you can empower them too. You know, if maybe it's a drill that's more offensive related or something, and you ask them, hey, what do you notice? And you ask them questions about what they see individual players on their team doing, or, you know, what they see, because that perspective is totally different, and also gives them an opportunity to open that communication with you as a coach. So I think that can start at really any age. I think that's a big part of just opening those lines.
It's a great point, because as goalies, I think that's why a lot of goalies and catchers in baseball become good coaches, because they sit back and they watch the game their whole life. That's what we do. We're sitting back and watching the game our whole life, and you see things from that perspective. And you want to make sure the goalies feel part of it, that they're not just back there on an island sitting by themselves. From a practice allotment standpoint, so this is how we allot practice. Okay, 75%. I went through every practice we had this year to get these numbers. About 75% of our practices are going to be dedicated to skill development, skill acquisition, decision-making and problem solving, driving identity, and then small games. Only 25% is going to be dedicated to special teams or to structure, right? So we want to make sure there's enough structure, face-off work, D-zone coverage work, that the players know what to do, but we want to use 75% of our practices aimed at the skill acquisition, aimed at the decision-making, problem-solving, to allow them to learn how to play the game and to use that creativity for growth in their skill level. Number 9, we practice 80 to 120 minutes daily. So we use the quote, win the long game, not the next game, right? So there's nothing worse than you're walking away and you're watching a youth hockey team practice, and you got 15 guys standing there and 2 guys are going, and they're saving the legs for a game on the weekend, right? So games are important. We want to win every game, but we're not going to sacrifice development and practice time to try to beat Sioux Falls on Friday night, or in the 18 year to try to beat North Dakota in a college game on Friday night. Now, there's certain times of the year, certainly we peak towards international events and we might scale back, but scaling back for us is 80 minutes, right? So we're going to utilize that practice time to drive development. We're trying to win the long game. We're trying to get these guys as good as we can be for when they can go on to the NHL and the college, not for everything right now.
And
sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
So I just want to point out, like, winning the long game and not the next game. Steve Thompson talked about playing time for goalies yesterday. And the interesting thing I saw last year or the year before, you only had one game on a weekend. And usually, typically at that level, USHL or a high level going, you'd only play one goalie. You guys played both. You split the game, and it was like, oh yeah, it happens there too. So I think that's to the T winning the long game, given that opportunity.
If we have a 1-game weekend, we're splitting our goalies. We think it's crazy that they don't play. And if I was coaching younger hockey, I would split the goalies every game and maybe even split periods at times. I think ice time should be relatively even. In the 17 year in USHL games, maybe not international competition, so maybe not in a championship of a tournament or something like that. But in the 17 year, we have 4 power play units. We roll 4 lines, we roll 8 defensemen, and we split our goaltenders. Right. So I think that's an important aspect of winning the long game is allowing those players to develop and allow their growth to happen. And then the off-ice workouts. So we're in the gym every day, before practice for a warm-up, after practice for a lift or a cool down, 2 to 3 days a week. We're going to lift in the season even. And then there's no off days. That's Brian Galvin, our director of sports science. He says there's no off days. There's work days and there's recovery days. So an off day would be a recovery day, a cold tub, a stretch, yoga, meditation, something to get your body and your mind right back on track to get after it again the next week. And then the last thing before I go into some of the video is the thing at the bottom. Practice is for the players. Make sure you design it that way. And I failed at this at times in my other stops along the way. And I think being here really allows you to take a development focused approach. But practice for the players. And there's nothing worse for a player than coming to a practice that's designed for the coach. And what I mean designed for the coach would be a lot of systems, a lot of slow talking, a lot of time spent at the board, right? There's not, as a player, I loved practice. I hated sitting at a knee on the board, listening to the coach talk. So one of the things we try to do is every hour of practice we have, I want to be at the board for 5 minutes or less. For 5 minutes or less for an hour. So normally we practice 2 hours. I'm at the board for less than 10 minutes. And usually I'm trying to extend that time to give them their proper rest time based on our heart rate monitors, right? So yes, they need to know what they're doing. Yes, they need to know that the importance of the drill or what we're looking to gain out of the game. But you can do a lot of those things beforehand. You can communicate with them prior. You can remind them in line. You can coach by moving into lines and talking to players. The worst part of practice for players is sitting on a knee listening to the coach talk. So let's try to do it as little as possible. All right, I'm going to move into some practice video to give you a feel of how we would run a practice here. I'm not going to go into all the detail of every drill. It's more about the flow, the pace, the games, and the competitiveness and decision-making that we'd include. All right, you see that, Dave? Okay, we're moving those. So we're going to start with a game. So almost every day we start with a small ice game. There's a line painted down the middle. You got 2-on-2 going in one end. You move a puck north. Now you get a little transition. So right away you're starting with offense. I want our players to jump on the ice and be ready to compete. That's why we start with games so much. They're not as physical in nature at the start of practice, but you want to start with them off the bat. A couple good plays. There's a puck in the back of the net. There's so many different elements in decisions they have to make. So now you got the D-zone puck battle right there. You got puck possession. Now you got a puck hunt. Now White's going to get that puck. They're going to get a turnover. Now we're going to move it north and we're getting transition. Now the blue team's got a back check. And here's a great clip right here. This is D-zone coverage. Now we're playing a small ice game, but they're working on the skills of D-zone coverage now all of a sudden. Players coming in and angling, his stick's on the ice. He's going to try to get a stalled puck. We're going to try to quickly outnumber him. We get in, we move a puck north, we make another good pass, and it's in the back of the net. And you're playing hockey, and you're making decisions, and you're problem solving while working on skills needed for other parts of your game. Then we'd start moving into more of a breakout game. But as we've learned about how players develop and how their minds work, It's important to put decision-making processes in these drills. So what used to be a 3-on-0 breakout drill with 0 decisions and us telling them what to do now becomes a drill that we utilize a goaltender for a breakout, and we're forcing the players to make decisions. So let's watch this player right here. Let's watch the urgency, first of all, he has to go back and break the puck out. As a defenseman with great urgency to go back and support his goaltender. Now he gets up ice and he's shoulder checking and looking north. So now we're utilizing our goaltenders in a breakout drill. Now these players now have to make decisions. If this pass is clean from the goalie to the defenseman, this forward can go north and this forward is going to support the puck. If it's a dirty pass, if the pass isn't clean, it's on the wall, this forward would have to make that read and go down and support the defenseman like he would on a loose puck in a game. It's a clean play. So now we're going to put our coaches out there. Our coach might take this guy away and he might take this guy away. So now that defenseman has to sprint back, shoulder check, get a pass from the goaltender, and then make a decision for himself. Who's open like he's going to have to in a game. And we're going to continue to take different options away in a line rush. They're going to go down. They're going to play that puck out. We're going to have good habits. We're going to stop at the net. And then we're going to play that same puck. I'm a big believer. You only get one puck in a game. So I like our players to stay on that puck as much as possible in practice. So both forwards stop on top of the goalie. They get that puck back. And now we're working good habits, how we get to the net, how we run the blue line, screening, tipping, all the things necessary for good quality hockey. Okay, so that's a real simple breakout drill that we've now added layers of decision-making and layers of habits involved with it. Now we'd go to a transition game. Okay, so this transition game is one of our favorite drills, or transition drill, excuse me. Again, we've added decision-making processes to this. There's a D-to-D pass. Then we go to the forward. So the first thing, so now that's the easy part. Now we got a defenseman jumping up in the rush. But now we're going to put resistance. This starts with a coach. So now we're going to attack the coach. We're going to find the coach and create our 2-on-1 against the coach. We're not going to play 1-on-1 hockey. We're going to kick it and we're going to drive past them. So the first decision is finding the coach and find your 2-on-1. The second decision now is for this guy that gets that pass. Where is the next play? If the coach simulating a defenseman drops back, the play would be to the D driving the weak side. If the coach stays up with his stick, now we're going to play behind him. So now he has to make a decision, and then there's another decision there, and they rip one off the crossbar. I'll give you another look. Now this time, the coach goes to the weak side of the ice. So let's watch now the communication. This player right here, look at him communicating with his teammate to go to the weak side. Now we have to find the coach. So again, we're making a decision. Okay, we're going to now activate this defenseman into a line rush by him being the entry man. We kick it wide, and again, where's the coach? He's taking the high ice away with his stick, so we're going to play behind him, and then we get a scoring chance. A couple more clips. Now we added fourth man in, so now we've got 3 forwards and a D right here. Now again, we find the coach. And now we make a decision. The coach sags back like a D-man would sometimes. And now we're going to either make the lateral pass or the pass to the defenseman. So that's the second decision. Then the third decision is this original man right here is going to make a decision on if this guy gets the puck, he's going to stay on the back post. If the defenseman gets the puck, he's going to do a flash screen. He makes a good read. There's the shot being delivered right as the goaltender is being screened. So we've taken a 4-on-0 rush routing drill and we've added 4 layers of decisions in there with just coach resistance. One more clip of it. This time the coach is on the weak side of the ice. We go to the weak side. We make the right decision. We make it again with a flash screen and we get a great scoring chance. So again, that's how we've went from a line rush routing drill to, with no decisions, to a line rush routing drill with 4 reads and decisions. Now we'd go to an up and down the ice drill. Okay, this would be a 3-on-1 with back checking pressure. What we're going to put in to challenge them and their skill level and their decision process is we're going to put in 3 passes, mandatory 3 passes. So there's one, there's a second one. Now there's their 2-on-1. There's that third one. Because we know, first of all, making 3 passes is challenging their skill, but also if we can pass across that Royal Road, that middle line, if you can make a pass across that Royal Road, you have a much better chance of scoring on plays against goaltenders. So there's that third pass. There's a scoring chance. Now this defenseman who played that rush, he's going to jump. He's going to go in with the rush the next time. The forwards are back checking, and now they go down the ice again. So again, there's that third pass. And now is our decisions. Good job of crossing the Royal Road. Now this guy's got decisions to make. Is the trailer open? No, the back checker has him. Is the guy driving the back post open? No, the defenseman's taking him away. So now he rips one off the crossbar. Decision making under game speed, under game situations. There's a bad pass. So now they have to still get 3 in. There's a second one. They use the defenseman. He buries it. And now they really start slinging it. I think they get 5 or 6 in here. They do a great job. It ends up in the back of the net. Now we would take those and we build on it. So now we did a 4-on-0, okay, against coach resistance with decisions. Now we did a 3-on-1 against defensive resistance. Now we're going to go into a 4-on-2 with defense playing live. So look at the white defensemen, both gap up hard to the middle of the ice. So the defensemen are working on their gap control and their sticks. Both of them, great sticks, stick on the ice, great detail. Now we're in a 4-man rush, just like we looked like against that 4-man rush against the coach, but now it's going to be live. The defensemen do a great job. They push it wide and they go attack together. So the forwards do an average job here. The D do a great job, and they turn a 4-on-2 into a 2-on-2, and they shut that play down. Now I blow a whistle, they go the other direction. 2 forwards are here, 1 forward's down here, 1 of the D joins them. We use the term interchangeable parts when we're talking about how we want to play. So interchangeable parts mean if a D's in the rush, he goes and a forward plays defense. If a D in the offensive zone sees a lane, he goes and a forward rotates back and plays defense, right? So we want all of our players to understand how to do the skill levels and the things that are necessary in the situations they're in. So now this is a defenseman carrying the puck through the middle of the ice, leading our attack. He executes perfectly. He carries wide, presents a stick, and drives through. Now this is a forward trailing. Okay, nice read there. Same things we're working on against the coach. He sees that there's high ice. He takes the high ice. He hits that late forward. And now let's watch this D-man. Now this is a D-man driving through who now goes in flash screens. Good read, how we want to attack offensively. They go to the back post and they put it up under the crossbar. Now we're going to start working some games. Okay, I'm not going to go through a lot of detail on these games. I just want you to get a feel and a sense of how we practice and play. But this is an angle game. Okay, 2-on-2 angle. Angling is one of the greatest skills. Probably number 1 for me would be winning puck battles. And maybe the second skill that you can have is angling. You can win puck battles and you can angle and skate and take people's time and space away. You're going to be a darn good hockey player, no matter what your stick skill is. So it's 2-on-2 angle game. They're making plays. They're making give and go hockey. Good little give and go. They jump to offense. They go down and score. Blow a whistle. You go in the other direction. So you're working on angling. You're working on line rush defense. You're working on forecheck. You're working on making plays under duress offensively. Decisions everywhere. And then we're going to make them play it out. So then they're going to get a ton of puck battles involved here. Right? And I might give the advantage to one team by adding a third guy in if somebody wins that initial battle. Good little give and go, good defense. Great angle there. And again, I've talked about this before, but angling's not about killing people. Angling's about getting a turnover. That's the way the new game is going. So great angle. He's got momentum back to his net. He's got a stick in there. He cuts the guy's hands off with his butt and his body. He doesn't have to kill them. It's not about injuring people. It's about getting turnovers so we can get on offense. So he won that initial battle. Now I'm going to allow blue to get a third man involved. They win a puck battle. They hit that guy down the slot for a big time scoring chance, and they'll continue to play that out. Now we're going to take that same angling. We're going to go to full ice. But again, it's going to be another game. It's going to be a game where they're going to have to problem solve and make a lot of decisions on their own. We're going to go 3-on-3 full ice. Starts with an angle. You have to skate forward the whole time. So the whole time if you're on defense, you got to be skating forwards. So we're not playing slow and back skating, giving other teams time and space. So there's one angle. There's two angles. Now he's got to get back up. Good stick on the ice there. There's the third one. Okay. Great stick on the ice again, protecting dangerous ice. There's a fourth angle. Look at that stick detail. Really good stuff. All over the ice, you're working on closing time and space, angling, taking space away, trying to create turnovers. The beauty of a drill like this is usually if you do eventually you do a good enough job defensively and you win a battle, you're going to get rewarded with offense. They screw this one up. Whistle's going to blow. They're going to go hard to the bench. We're going to blow whistle and we're going to go again. Now new 6 guys are out there. Turnover, scoring chance. Okay, good angle right there. Great job being right on top of his guy. Now we get a puck battle. Now you get these decisions that happen in games of risk-reward situations. Blue's got the puck right here. This blue guy right here, he's the last man back, but if he jumps, there's a breakaway, right? Great defense, though. White has a good stick on the ice and a good angle, so that risk, the reward might not have been worth that risk, and he gets to learn that by making a mistake in practice. You put him in these different situations. They have to problem solve. They have to figure these things out for themselves without us telling them exactly what to do all the time. There's the turnover. There's the transition. There's a goal. Good little celebration. We get a new puck in there, and they go attack again. Good angle. Great edge work. Brings it back. They're being creative. They're problem solving. They're making plays. And it's a little bit of free play within structure of how we want to play. This would be a drill of how we'd work on our D-zone coverage. 3 defenders against 2 forwards. Okay. Getting our D-zone work in here now. But again, it's not 5-on-5 static structure with everybody's not moving. There's 7 guys involved. They get a turnover defensively. Look at this net front defenseman. He's working. He's active. His stick's ready. He's calling for the puck. We bump it to the net front to work on those little bump plays up to the coach. Then we go to the other side. It's a staple D-zone drill that we do. Great habits about how to defend properly in the corner and how to utilize the net front defenseman for little pop-out plays. Good job there. We go to another rep, and now the other team's involved. Dave, I think I lost my video there, so it'd be a good time for any questions.
So you were talking about angling and battles and how important it was. And I think that's an important point to make sure our coaches understand. We had the Declaration of Player Safety that came out, and I know you had a very good quote on our website about, you know, the new game and like the game that's happening now about no more big blow up hits. Can you talk about the like the hitting and making sure, you know, how that angling is all taking place at your level?
Yeah, I mean, we're physicality is always going to be part of the game of hockey. But I think as the game's going forward, and especially at youth hockey, we don't want players getting hurt. We don't want players that get hurt. They're going to leave the game, right? And you hate when you go watch youth hockey games to see players running around and trying to hit people with their sticks up into the head and trying to run people from behind. And I think we're getting away from that collectively. And it's still a physical game. But the number one thing you want to do when you don't have the puck is you want to create a turnover and get the puck back. And I think that's where the game is going. So angling properly, having your stick on the ice, cutting people's hands off, getting turnovers, and getting back on offense, that's the game now, right? Putting your opponent under duress, taking their time and space away, and then getting turnovers and getting on offense is a massive part of where the game is going, where the game is. And I think for us, that's how we want to play. That's how we want to teach players. We're not looking to injure players, certainly not in practice, and certainly shouldn't be in youth hockey. We just want to get turnovers.
Yeah, and I think that's an important point, is trying to get turnovers and using that stick on puck. And I know you even brought it up on just one of your little clips, about causing that good stick position. I know that's probably one of your focuses a lot, to make sure that we have that proper stick position. So, another question is on the making decisions part. You're using that a lot, and why is that so important for these players to make these decisions in practice and in games?
Well, when the game happens, right, we can't be out there for them. They have to adapt. They have to problem solve for themselves. They're going to be out there for a 40-second shift. Likely the play is going to change direction 4, 5, 6 different times. We can't tell them what to do. We can't tell them what system we're going to be in. We can't tell them if it's a forecheck or a neutral zone forecheck. So the game is in a state of usually offense, defense, right? Or transitional offense, transitional defense, or 50-50 puck battles. And players have to react to them and then make plays accordingly, both offensively and defensively. So if we don't allow them to make those decisions in practice, if we don't put them in those uncomfortable situations in practice, then they're never going to be able to process those things in games.
So just a little bit back to the angling part, after closing the gap, angling and having good stick position, what's the last step or steps of gaining possession? Coach Mike was just saying, seems like a lot of kids struggle with that last step about gaining possession. What should they be doing?
The last step. So if you're angling onto somebody and he moves it away from you, right? Now you need to get a bump on that man. You don't have to hit him. You get a bump on him, and then you have to beat him back to dangerous ice. So much of playing fast is beating people back to good ice. So offensively, if I move it, I want to beat him to good ice. Defensively, if somebody moves it, I want to get a contact, a piece of him, and I want to beat him back to good ice. How to create the turnovers when you're closing them, you have a good angle, you have a good stick. Now you got to skate through his hands. You got to stop his momentum. You got to cut his hands off with your body. Now you've won the battle. Now, once that happens, you've won the battle. Now you have, if the puck stays there, you've got to stop. That's a massive piece of it, is once that puck stays there, once you've created that stalled puck with your angle, now you got to stop on that puck. You got to win that puck battle, and then you got to be ready to make that next play, not having no idea where your teammates are after you create that turnover.
Yeah, and I think that's an important point. I mean, just starting that angling and body contact at a very early age. We have a pretty good manual. It's called Checking the Right Way, that we put out by USA Hockey, that, the least part about it is the actually checking. It's making sure you're using your skating, you're using the good angle, you're using your good stick to try to get in that spot. And I know Killer or Coach Miller would always say at Ohio State, he was like, if you're not angling, you're reloading. Reloading meaning getting back to that good ice as fast as you can after you're angling. So I think that's just he would always yell at.
We do angling every day. It is absolutely, it's just as important of a skill as your ability to handle a pass and make a pass. Your ability to angle and your ability to win 50-50 puck battles, once you get to higher levels of hockey, is massive in terms of your ability to be a good hockey player. Because it doesn't matter how talented you are, if you can't take time and space away from your opponents, you never get the puck back. And if you can't win a puck battle, you're playing defense the whole time.
Yeah, and next Tuesday, we're going to have Dissecting Body Contact, a webinar with Christy Kehoe, and she's going to break down, the timing, the skill, the purpose of this body contact, competitive contact for kids of all ages. So it's not just that, the ones that are doing checking, but for all ages. So if you're watching this on record, make sure you check that out next Tuesday with Coach Kehoe. Got a next question. So you're talking about using small area games or small sided games a lot. Do you have any good games, and how do you work on your PK at your level?
The penalty kill?
Yeah, penalty kill. Sorry.
You know, it's funny. We don't work on penalty kill very much. We work on penalty killing through these games. If we're doing power play, we do work on power play, so penalty kill gets to work there. But I think the best penalty killers, the stuff that you're seeing there, the angling game, the 3-on-3 full ice angling game, the cross ice angling game, good penalty killers have to have great sticks. Penalty killers have to be able to take time and space away from people. The best penalty killing teams don't let teams come in and set up against them. So much of that is taking space away and getting bumps on people on entry. So for us, we work on penalty kill by working on the skills necessary for the penalty kill in all these other areas of practice, right? So the only other things I was going to show in my presentation today, it was only 2 drills left, I think, was 2 more games. So in a 12 drill practice, 4 to 5 of them are going to be games. Another 4 to 5 are going to be drills that require massive amounts of decision making and problem solving on their own. So we believe players become great penalty killers. Like, we don't work on forecheck. We were an unbelievable forechecking team this year. But our group, our O2 group, was an elite forechecking team, one of the best I've ever coached. I don't think we worked on 5-man forecheck once the whole season. But if you're a good angler, if you do that 2-on-2 angle game great, you're going to become a great forechecker.
Sorry, technical difficulties. That was really interesting on the small area games and making sure that they do a lot of things. So kind of off the coaching aspect side, how would you describe yourself on the bench, and how did you evolve from when you first started?
It's a great question. When I first started being a head coach, I was certainly too emotionally invested. I was probably too loud, probably worried about the refs too much. And as you get older and you mature and you learn and you pick other people's brains, now you start to realize that those moments are for the players. Train them properly in practice. Trust what you do from your identity standpoint. And I am now on the bench. I'm calm. Very seldom get on the refs. I try to exude a level of professionalism and confidence to our players that I want them to take on the ice. I think sometimes if I'm erratic, your team can be erratic. So those are things I've had to learn through trial and error. I'm a passionate person. I think my strength is my passion and my competitiveness and my energy. I think everybody's strengths can become their weaknesses at times. And certainly at times in my career, it has been. And I've made a conscious effort to provide a calming presence for our guys so they can handle big moments better.
That's cool. Yeah, because you get a lot of big moments, playing in the U18, worlds and all of that. And I think that's super important. So we get a lot of questions. We ask coaches, what do you look for in a player that, your favorite player, or, some qualities. So I want that, but then I'm going to turn it on the flip side on you in a second. So what are some qualities that you like, in a player?
I like a player to be competitive. I think your competitiveness is so massive. So one of the things we do in practice is we keep track of all small games that we play, and we post the player's win-loss record throughout the year. That helps drive extra competitiveness, right? And we have elite competitors usually anyway, but so competitiveness is massive for me. I think being a great teammate and being a team focused guy, a player that's more concerned about winning than their own statistics. It doesn't mean they don't care about their own statistics. Of course, they want to have individual success. All of our players want to go on and play in the National Hockey League, right? They want to have individual success so they can get drafted and they have those opportunities. But you're looking for players that their first mindset is team and winning. And that is more important than individual success. So competitiveness, team mentality. I like a player that can skate. We want to be a fast team. So skating skills, especially with the way the game's going today, is critically important. And then above all else, a player that is smart and is coachable. Because players that are competitive, have a team first mentality, are good skaters, and have a certain level of smarts and coachability, their growth is immense, right? So I'll give an example of a guy like that, like Joel Farabee, who's now, just turning 20 years old. He's a full-time NHLer, played for us a couple of years ago. He did not make the youth Olympic team. So at 15, he was not considered a top 9 or 10 forward in our country. He was a bottom 6 forward on entry into the NTDP. 2 years later, a year later, he's up on the 18 team as a call-up. 2 years later, he's a first-round draft pick and one of the best players on the team. And a year and a half after that, he's in the NHL as a full-time player. Competitive, smart, winner, team mentality, coachable, allowed for a tremendous amount of growth, which took a player from didn't make our youth Olympic team at 15 to in the NHL at 19.
That's pretty impressive. You hear a lot of those stories about those, quote unquote, late developers. And I wouldn't consider him a late developer. He was just a little bit later than some others, right? Like being at 16. So now flipping it on you, how do you work with players that maybe are not, I'm not saying your favorites, but people that might be tough to work with, or tough players? Because that's real life. You're going to get players on your team that are not, easy to work with. How do you deal with that?
Well, I think I've gotten better at that with experience. The reality is you need to get excited about those players because the Joel Farabees of the world, they're the easy to coach. And I think where you do your best work is with the players that aren't as easy to coach, that maybe don't naturally do the things that as a coach you're drawn to, maybe that don't have the same personality as you, so you don't maybe mesh as well immediately. So the players that, you want players to have their own mentality. You want them to have some of that bravado and belief in themselves. You want them to have their own thoughts. A lot of the best players, they listen to what the coaches say, but then they make their own decisions on the ice and they own their own decisions on the ice. That's a good thing. And so I think if I've gotten more mature as a coach, I come to relish those players and get excited to coach them instead of looking at that I'm frustrated by them. When you're frustrated by them, nobody wins. He gets frustrated with you, you're frustrated with them, and there becomes a wall up between you and you can't connect to them. My goal as a coach is to get every player to understand what they're going to need to do to not only help us win, but to enhance their career. That's as a player. And as a person, I want to try to make them better people and better teammates. And I want to develop relationships with them to where I stay in touch with them and I get to be part of their life, because you want to make impact on their life as young men, not just as hockey players.
Yeah, that's cool. So I got a question from Coach Jason, a couple actually. Do you often practice in 2 colors for your games? So there's a couple off of that. Yes or no?
Only 2 colors. I don't like putting defensemen in 1 color and then the forward lines in opposite colors, or forward lines in 4 colors. So we just simply go blue and white so we can play any kind of game, whether that's special teams, small ice games, 5-on-5 scrimmage, whatever it is. We just go blue and white.
And do you keep them on the same teams throughout the year? I know you're keeping score. How do you work with that?
No, we changed that because some of that's based on the lines they're on at the time. And at the NCDP, we rotate lines a lot because we don't want guys pigeonholed in certain situations. So we'll rotate that. But what it also does is it starts to show you who's driving the winning. If you left the same teams together all the time, maybe it's 2 defensemen that are driving winning, but the forwards have a great number. So by mixing it up, by changing the lines, by changing the teams, you get a better sense of who's really driving the winning. I'll tell you, like, we got a guy, Jake Sanderson's going to be a top 10, maybe a top 5 pick in the NHL draft whenever that happens. He was at the top of our group, but I think he was only at 52.5%. So that's how competitive it is. That's how competitive you want practice to be, that your number 1, 2, 3 players are barely into the 52s and the bottom guys are maybe 45, 46, 47. You want everybody to be fighting every day to try to be the best player on the ice.
Is that posted for the teams to see?
We do post it. I'm not sure if I would if I was coaching youth hockey, because, just for other reasons, obviously. We post it. We didn't in the 17 year, though. I wasn't sure in the 17 year if they were ready for that level of honesty and truth at times. And we did other things to coach them and to talk to them. In the 18 year, we did post that.
Yeah, I think that's important. Depends on your group, depends on the age, depends on a lot of different things. But, having that, group that you can compete and work with, I think that's important.
Well, I'd also say that fun in practice, right? So I don't have access to the rink right now, so I can't get all of my video, but I would love to have shown some, and I have at the level 5, some of the celebrations we have in practice. Because you want to create an environment where they care about winning and it's fun. And when they're having fun, they are celebrating with their teammates. I mean, we've had dog piles in practice. We've had guys jump into the glass, and you want to allow that. That's a good thing. That's a positive thing. And you want to see that at your own practices, that they care that much about practice. They're having that much fun that they'll celebrate like they would if it's a game.
What do the goalies do? That's who I'm thinking about.
I've seen Drew Comesso ride his stick off after a big win against Noah Grannon. So yeah, they'll celebrate as well.
That's awesome. So a couple more questions. We have a couple more. My one question for you is, when you are coaching these athletes, before practice, how do you set up your day? Like, what do you do? Like, I know they're going to be in school in the morning, but what happens?
Generally speaking, the players are in school from 7 to noon. They show up at the rink around 12, depending on the school, 12:15 to 12:30. At that time, I'd like to, maybe be walking through those areas or checking on the lunchroom. And because I think it's important to have context and conversations with the players, not just about hockey, life, how's school going, how you doing. We might have study hall before practice, depending on the day. But on a normal day, they're going to be in about 12:15, 12:30. We're going to have a meeting at 12:50. That meeting might be team, that might be 4 defensemen. We might be showing video on ourselves. We might be showing NHL video. We show a ton of NHL teaching video. Then a lot of times the goalies are going to go immediately onto the ice and get goalie work in with our goaltending coach for 15 minutes. The other players are going to go in the weight room and get their warm-up in, off-ice warm-up. 1:30 to 3:30, we're going to practice. And then after practice, we're going to probably lift for an hour and a half. And then any meetings, personal meetings, line meetings, one-on-one meetings, video, things of that nature would be done after that. The guys are very busy. They go to bed at 9 o'clock. They need to get their 9 hours of sleep in. They're up at 6:15. They go to school. They're at the rink from 12:15 till 5 or 6. They get a lot of things by being part of this, but they give a lot as well.
Yeah, you hear the story about Austin Matthews giving his phone to his billets, at 9 o'clock because he wanted to make sure he was going to sleep, and that's just the dedication, some of those athletes have. So on the video side of it, how long are you having video for them, say before practice? Like what's your typical go-to time frame that you go with?
I'd like our meetings to be 8 to 13 minutes. I think that when you start getting over 10 to 15 minutes, I don't like to be in meetings for 30, 40 minutes. Sometimes you have to, but meetings are generally boring unless they're short and to the point. So we try to be very concise, try to get our meetings with the team done in about 10 to 15 minutes. That is on practice days, and that's also on game days. Individual video meetings might go longer because I think it's more of a personal give and go communication where we're talking about their style of play or watching NHL video. But team meetings are 10 to 15 minutes. Okay,
I got 2 more questions. One, what are you doing right now to stay, active and, on your coaching game?
A lot of things. In the morning, I try to work. I'm trying to spend as much time as I can with my family. I have 2 daughters. They're 15 and 12. So from probably 7 till noon or 1, I work, and then family time after that. So that's been nice to spend that much family time, as bad as the situation is. In the morning, Some of it's been Zoom calls with our outgoing 02 players or the team. Some of it's been Zoom calls with our incoming 04 players that I'll be coaching next year and or the team. And then I've been jumping on some different Zooms with NHL coaches, American League coaches, other junior coaches, other international coaches, to just try to pick up different ideas, steal a few things, get more focused and ready on how we want to make ourselves better individually so I can make other players better as well.
Yeah, that's cool. And then the last one, I prepped you a little bit, and hopefully you had some time to think. If you were in a time machine and you were going to go see Coach Seth Appert, whether at Ferris State or at Denver, what would you tell him?
Never stop loving your players. I think that any regrets, any times that the season went south or you didn't like the way the team felt, is usually when you went away from personal relationships and you went away from people, and it was more about coaching or winning or X's and O's than it was about people. I think when you can really keep the focus on people and on relationships, and that doesn't mean it's all sunshine and roses. I mean, there's honesty to those relationships, but I think the things what I'd want to tell the young Seth Appert is keep the focus on relationships, keep the focus on the people and the mission. And when you do that, usually good things are going to happen.
That's really great advice. Do you want to, we're going to close it down. Do you want to say anything to the crowd, all your fans?
Well, just the coaches out there, just really appreciate what all of you do for USA Hockey. Again, as I said at the front end, you're the drivers. You're the people that make this happen. A lot of you are volunteering and you're giving your time to make people's lives better, to make better hockey players, and to make USA Hockey better. We get the end result of that, the players that have come through your guys' program. So just really grateful. Hopefully everybody's safe and healthy, and hopefully some of the things that we talked about today can help you going forward.
Thank you. I really appreciate your time, Coach Appert, and we really have a great week as well. Next week, we've had 28 webinars so far. They're all on YouTube, so make sure you're checking them out on our USA Hockey page. Next week, we have, I talked about on this, Christy Kehoe. She's going to talk about body contact. Dr. Larry Lauer, who is a mental skills performance coach. And then on Thursday for goalie, we have a mental skills coach for goaltending. He's going to talk about that. And then on Friday, we have assistant general manager for the Chicago Blackhawks, Norm McIver. He had a great career as a player, but has won many Stanley Cups with the Chicago Blackhawks. So again, thanks, Coach Appert. Really appreciate your time. And we just want to thank everybody for watching. We'll see everybody next week. And be safe, be healthy. Thanks a lot.